Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Keep It Spiritually Simple. I'm your host, Sandra McGellis, and we are just so excited to have you here today to listen in on Dr. Nancy. Once again, just nuggets of wisdom, someone who's had a lot of experience, written a lot of books, and just has a lot of information to bring to each and every one of you. And in her multi-books that she has, and some of them we've gone over on this channel, they are available on Amazon. They're available in audio. And I'll have her website link down below in the description. Right now, we are actually looking at the book Ascendance. So if you can see that through the light, it's hard for me to see. It's a book that just has excerpts in it for just contemplation. Just a little words of wisdom might bring something true to you. Last night, I actually grabbed the book before I went to bed, and I just did one of these numbers and stopped on a page. And I had my eyes closed and I just kind of took my finger down both pages, and then a distinct feeling would happen. And I wound up on page 55. And I wound up with, who is the essence behind your eyes looking outward? Which to me had a lot of meaning, because I often wonder, in this hard shell avatar that I have, who's in there? Who is all in there? And what are they computing when they're looking out there? And how many guides are in there? And how many memories are in there? It's just an interesting thing that I like to play with on myself, because I practice on honing in and skilling my ability to have discussions with myself, my higher self, and my team. So that was kind of perfect. So Dr. Nancy, welcome in again. And
Thank you.
let's see what we're going to uncover today.
Yes, it's always an adventure.
Yes. And I love it because, guys, remember, nothing's rehearsed. We just go with the flow. But she's going to kind of go in sequence with the book and just read some of the excerpts that she's written, and then we'll break it down. And of course, as she's talking, lots of things come up in my mind, and then I just kind of butt in and say something. So get ready.
Yep. So this one we're going to start with today is on page 3, and it's soul is the doer. And when the student spirit when the spiritual student realizes their true identity through direct mystical experience of their divine nature, they have graduated from the lower dimensions. If a master soul desires to come back down to the lower planes, it is a service to the divine plan. So we have a lot of souls here, from all many different levels of dimensions, working on different things, and so yeah, I think one of the things is when you're having direct mystical experiences, that's actually firsthand experience, and no one can convince you otherwise once you've had these. They're so impactful, and I like this part about when a master soul desires to come back down to the lower planes, it's service to the divine plan. So we've had a lot of these master soul teachers that have come to the planet to help us in our ascendance and in our goals and in our life here and in our service here on in the Earth School. So I know that a lot of paths will say, well, everyone's down here to burn off their karma. Not necessarily. We have some high level souls that's walking on the planet, and we always do. That is something that Source has guaranteed us, that we have these master soul teachers always walking the planet for all the generations to be able to have someone to help them on their journey as well.
It's interesting that you're talking about coming back down, because today, I had a couple hospital calls in DC, and every hospital you walk into, it's just kind of a chaotic first floor because people have to check in, vendors, appointments, visitors, etc. And you always have to go to another floor to accomplish something, up level to another floor. And so I was thinking about this whole thing about elevators and going up to another level of ascension and another level of ascension and another level. And then it's your choice if you want to come all the way back down and exit the building to go out and have another experience through that way. So that's just kind of, I just thought that was interesting when you said that and read that. And I was like, I don't know why I was thinking that this morning. Life is
Yeah.
not an elevator. But, and then when you go into certain buildings, you never know when the elevator door opens where you are, right?
Mhm,
You don't,
mhm.
because
Yeah.
I go to multiple different locations and the door will open and I'm not sure if I'm going left or right or where's south, where's northeast, all those things. And so you have to kind of fumble your way. The next time you go in with a surety. Um, yeah, but you always have to come back down to go back out, but not necessarily on the level of ascension.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, yeah, some of those hospitals could be massive, quite huge. You can get turned around in those things.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I was just thinking of elevators just taking you on the weight of your life. And then, like you said, with Ascended Masters coming back down to earth to learn more, we always have to come back down and go back out into our life, no matter how much of a roller coaster we're on spiritually.
Yes, I mean they have assignments as well that they're handed, and they come here and they say they're ready, they're, well trained, and but there's things that can happen here in the physical reality that can be very unexpected, that
Mm-hmm.
can happen to them, and so they have to learn to adjust and navigate and improvise and that sort of thing. So it's yeah, it's nothing scripted either, with them. They have a certain overall plan but there is always room for adjustment,
Mm-hmm.
that type of thing when you're here in the lower dimensions or the earth school.
Yeah,
It's chaotic, challenging, that type of thing.
got it.
So our next one is, when one feels loved, is it a fleeting moment or does it extend into all areas of their life and beyond? This deep compassion for oneself and all of life on this planet takes up a permanent residency. It's like when you're in love with the creation, you're in love with everything. All the little plants and the little worm that comes out of the grass and just everything. It just takes on a whole new meaning is when you understand this oneness and how we're part of this oneness. And I think the way to describe this is, you have this batter, and but from this batter, you can make all types of shapes and sizes. And so you can make cookies, you can make muffins, you can make pancakes, you can make bread, you can make cakes, you can make all kinds of things out of this batter. And it may appear that they're all different and separate, but really it all came from the same batter. So that's kind of like what we could say source manifesting in many different forms here in these different dimensions where time and space and matter reside. And
Mm-hmm.
so the physical dimension is one of those. As you get a little higher in the astral plane, it's a little more etheric, but it's just a little bit less dense. And then you go in the upper into dimensions that are a little more, and as you go up, they're a little more rarefied. And so it's in less density until you get to a point where there is no time space. There's no matter at all. It's just spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought that was really cute because it's all about perspective. Your perspective changes when your whole body and life is saturated with love. You just have, and even difficult souls, wish them well and walk away quickly.
Well, I love what you're saying about the love and the oneness because it's so true. And it'll creep up on you and you don't even realize it. Like when you're talking to a fly and trying to get it to exit the back door instead of killing it. When a bee is around you, instead of freaking out, you're allowing it to do its thing. And I remember once during COVID, I used to go on these long walks and I went to this one bench where I like to sit. And out of the corner of my eye, I see this beautiful green inchworm, like a caterpillar, just
Mm,
solid green. And it's coming along, behind me. And so I just kind of leaned up so it had plenty of space so it didn't get tangled in my hair or anything like that. And then I just was so in awe of it. I decided to take my camera and get a close up picture. And when I placed my camera close enough, it like just singed up like, oh, like I was creating so much pain, right? Between the light and the electromagnetics of my device. And I literally put my camera down. It's like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh. And I started just taking my hands around it, just sending it so much love. So I just was like restoring it. Like, please tell me I didn't zap you in one way or another. And I just felt this overwhelming love
Mm.
for a stinking caterpillar, like a green caterpillar. I just felt such oneness with it. And this overwhelming love will come into everyone's life when you start really kind of reading things like Dr. Nancy's book, and you just sort of let things bubble up. And I had no idea we were going to talk about this, but it was relevant to that oneness and that love. That picture just came into my brain. I went, whoop, we got to bring that out.
Yes, absolutely. I love sharing practical moments and experiences in our life because it just brings a lot of this wisdoms to life,
Yes.
actually. And so here's this next one is acceptance of divine order is essential. Stay with the higher self perspective. The mind is the one that complains. The soul sees perfection. The higher self has brought this to you to see your reaction, to polish you, to teach you. Continue on with acceptance. And that, I mean, acceptance, I think is hard for everybody because there's always something we wish things were different in our life or things that we wish we could change or even go back into the past and say, I wish this would have turned out differently. But we can't control the actions and behaviors of other souls. And so a lot of times we do our best to navigate the outer world, but and a lot of it is you just have to accept what is.
Yeah, row, row, row your boat. I have no idea why that came. You just got to keep on going no matter what it is and what's
We
happening around you.
That nursery rhyme holds a lot of meaning,
Yeah.
actually. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 merrily. Life is but a dream. And it
Yeah.
is. They call this the dream world. And because when you wake up after you've crossed over the veil, you think back and go, was that a dream? It reminds me of I think I have it in this book. I'm almost positive it's one of the wisdoms in this book, and it said there was a king who had a dream, and the king was asking his wise sages in his kingdom to answer this question, and the question was, am I a king having a dream of being a butterfly, or am I a butterfly having a dream that I'm a king? So it's very interesting. What dream are we in, So
Yeah.
are we dreaming in this reality, or when we close our eyes, are we dreaming then? So it kind of gives one something to ponder about. And as
Mm-mm.
we go into the dimensions, the many, many dimensions, that it's all a form of dreaming
Yeah.
because the true reality is source, and anything below source is but then you say, but everything is source. I'm like, yes, in manifesting in different forms. And so, yes, we're all one, but at this time, we are still in a physical reality, in a third dimensional reality where we can only see in this reality using our five senses. And so, therefore, a lot of people will say, well, if I can't see it, then I can't believe it. Then I'm like, well, then you don't believe in x-rays because you can't see x-rays. And I guess you don't believe in ultraviolet light because you can't see that either. And you can't see microwaves. So I guess you don't believe in microwaves. And,
Mhm.
all these different things that these are just beyond the perception of our sight. And, but they definitely are very real. So I think that the world of spirit, it's obviously very real. It's just outside of our five senses. So we have to get a little more fine-tuned and our frequency up higher where we're able to really hear and sense a lot of these rarefied vibrational frequencies. Because you'll hear people say, "Oh, I hear spirit very clearly. I hear my spirit guides very clearly. I can tap into them or my higher self and really connect." And and I kind of know where I'm going and navigating, this reality with using more than just their five senses.
Yeah, it's very powerful. We're moving beyond the five senses, but it takes us time to
Yes.
stop, drop, sit, and connect and realize that they are listening and stuff is appearing. And how do you think it's appearing? It's a telepathic type of communication, you know? So
Hmm.
it's like me today having to go down and pick up this equipment that should have been ready yesterday. And I'm thinking, gosh, I wish it wasn't just this one work order because it seems like such a waste of time to get down there and get back. But yet I'm so grateful for it. And boom, the phone rings and the second order came in right around the corner. So I was like, hello and thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. The spirit does provide
Mm-hmm.
in some amazing ways and will introduce us to people we never expected. And it's so interesting how spirit provides the connections. And I think that's part of surrender as well, is that, we were expecting our mind, which is the one that tends to always be the planner and sort everything out and wants to know everything in advance. And well, spirit can't always tell you everything in advance. Your spirit guides are working on things behind the scenes as well, trying to bring people in and at certain times when you're maybe there or you need to meet this person in order to meet this other person who's going to introduce you and to this other person. And it's sometimes you just can't plan all this. That's why synchronicity is true in many cases in people's lives. And so yeah, I always look at it as well, it's an adventure, that's for sure. But the soul
Mm-hmm.
just kind of observes and sees the perfection in it, whereas the mind is the one that complains. And and then I like how it says the higher self has brought this to you to see your reaction, to polish you, to teach you. And that's very interesting perspective. I think it's much higher perspective to say, because we don't feel a lot of times that we're being tested. We don't always recognize that we're being tested. We always just get frustrated because things aren't necessarily going the way our mind says that they should. But a lot of times things happen for a reason. We don't always see them until years later sometimes, or until we cross over the veil permanently. And so I think this whole acceptance, it's a process. I don't think it's something we just have it and then it's always there. I think that there's a time when we are in the middle of a situation and then we just have to step back and say, all right, I've done what I can on this situation. I'm just going to release it and surrender it. And I put my spirit guides to work, say, okay, you work on this. I've done what I could. And things somehow seem to get resolved. It may not be the way we had thought it was going to go, but they eventually do get resolved one way or the other.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yes. All right, so we can go to the next one. True spirituality is portable. You should be able to take it wherever you go. The spiritual path is within you. You come to know you are the path. You and the spiritual path are one. This oneness pervades throughout the universe. Yeah, this most paths are outer paths, but when you get to a high enough, deeper path, it's an inner path. And it really is the path where we get to really know our own divinity. We get to know our higher self. We get to know our true self and then really connect with that. And how that, gosh, we are this beautiful, divine, beaming soul. And we're here on this earth that's spinning and through space and rotating and this sort of thing. So it's kind of interesting. You look at the night sky and you look at the moon and you think, where's the string holding it up? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
and all this, it's in gravitational orbit and it stays hangs around the Earth. And of course, there's some planets that have multiple moons and some galaxies have more than one sun, so it just depends. And but yeah, so I mean, the Earth School is a very special place. And like I said, that we have souls here on all different levels And so we're all working on our different tests and exams and assignments. And I think that's good to remember too, because it kind of helps us get out of our everyday, okay, I got to run here, I got to do this errand, I can't forget to stop here, I need to call this person back, I got to return these emails. We kind of get lost. It's kind of nice to step back and look at the bigger overall picture.
Yes. And we
Yeah.
all have to step back and take a look. Very important. If not, we're trying to be in it and control it. So do we
Okay,
want to go on to the next one?
sure. When difficulties come up, stay in inner communication with your higher self. Then the answer will come, or the outer life will show a solution. It is best to stay connected as you go through your day. I think this is a continuation of the one above it, but I think my philosophy has always been, well, do what you can and leave the rest to spirit. Let go, let God type situation. It doesn't mean you just sit and do nothing. I mean, you do your part, but sometimes there comes a point where you just, at that point, you have to surrender it. And then I just turn it over to spirit, spirit guides, angelic guide, what have you, and just wish for what's in the best interest for all parties involved.
Yeah, and that just reminds me of something recently that occurred. Um, I was going into the grocery store quickly to grab something, and in my mind, I was saying, I wonder what else I could do to continue to hydrate myself in a better, more concentrated way. And as I was coming up around an aisle, smack dab eye level was coconut water.
Mm,
And I saw it and I said, wonder if coconut water would be one of those in my head, did not say it out loud. And so as I was walking to the register, because I was in a hurry and I had a couple things in my hand and no bag, I said, I think that was a message. I'll get back to it. Right.
mm,
And then a couple hours later, a video popped up about the importance of hydration and how coconut water can change, the way you absorb and this and that. And I got two or three of them within the next, 12, 15 hours, which was an answer to me saying, yes, we showed you that coconut water the other day. And yes, that would be healthier for you. And now we're showing it to you visually so you can't deny it. So they got the message to me. So then the next day I went and I got several coconut waters
mm,
for myself. And I'm just saying the universe shows it, but it shows it to us in ways that are very subtle. And
mhm,
again, I didn't say it out loud. So I know that my phone didn't hear me, right? So it
mhm,
wasn't recycling things that I was saying. I know that it was just telepathically between myself and my guide. So they're like, hey, she didn't get it. She bypassed it. Okay, let's remind her of why we let her see that, you
mhm,
know, and so on and so forth. So, some of your inserts here are just bringing up a lot of memories. The surrender and acceptance. Spirituality is portable. It'll talk to you anywhere, everywhere, you know, and it's not in a device, but sometimes it can come from a device because
mhm.
spirit works electromagnetically.
Yeah, you brought up some great points there. Yeah, it's I always say, well, what good is spirituality if you can't bring it into your everyday life? And
Mm-hmm.
so that's why spirituality is very portable. And so we have this constant connection with Source. And so of course, Source is going to help us on our journey as well as our spirit guides, which are an aspect of Source, our angelic guide, some belief systems will call it an angel. But angelic guides, I mean, they're all here to help us on our journey here in the earth plane.
Yes.
So, yeah, and a lot of times it's so subtle, we don't always notice it. And they have to, like you said, go back and remind us or bring that up again.
Well, it's no different than thinking about something and then later in the day, someone brings something up and you're in a whole conversation about it.
Hmm.
You go, that's so weird. I was just thinking about that this morning and asking for more information, and here we are.
Hmm.
So spirit will bring it to you if you just allow it. and just accept the ways that it might be bringing you the message.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. There's
Yeah.
just so many things that come into our lives, and we have to sit back and go, hey, wait a minute. I think I asked for that 6 months ago. I forgot
Yeah.
I asked for that.
Yeah.
And now
Exactly.
it appears 6 months later. It's so interesting.
Yeah. And they give you time to tweak it and play with it so that if it doesn't happen instantly, because it's not always for our highest good when it does happen so instantly, because we don't know the orchestra that's being played from behind the scenes.
Hmm.
And so perhaps only one or two of those instruments are being dialed towards us, but the other ones are being dialed to all the beings that would put it together. So it's a ton of timing chain,
Hmm.
you know? So yeah, I do the same thing. It's months and months will go by, even a year, and I'll go, oh my gosh, I remember this now. The light bulb will go off.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then and it's always perfect timing. Truthfully, it is.
Yes. Okay, so true liberation is being able to move one's consciousness outside of the chattering mind. True liberation is also being able to move beyond the physical world. So what is this one talking about? Well, when you can get to a level where you don't always have to talk to your mind. When you can step outside the confines of your mind, that's huge because now you're not just keeping company with your mind, you're actually keeping company with your soul, with your higher self. And this inner dialogue, this you're actually connecting with your true identity, your true self. And so when you can say, okay, this is my mind chattering, and you can recognize that that is your mind that's chattering, you're obviously not in your mind because you're seeing the actions of your mind, which is really quite huge because a lot of people think they are their mind, they are their personality, they are their story. And so that, and then the second sentence is true liberation is also being able to move beyond the physical world. And that would be a lot of times, when people are meditating, contemplating, we can easily step outside of time and space. I mean, how many times we get into, let's say, reading a book, and we're like, where did 4 hours go? I just sat, I thought for here, I was only here for 20 minutes and 4 hours went by. They got so into the book or into the music or the beautiful scenery or whatever they're into that time just flies. There is no sense of time and space. And so it's so interesting how, you at that time you could say they were truly liberated from the confines of time, space, and matter. Really, they stepped outside of those parameters, and which only exists in the physical world. I mean, we don't really have time clocks on the other side, and,
Mm-hmm.
and that type of thing. But so yes, did you have anything that came up on that one?
No, no, just keep going. If I do,
Okay.
I'm gonna pop it right in there.
All right. Dual reality, duality, is what your two eyes can see. Move to your heart chakra and be with source. And a lot of times when people point to themselves, they'll point to their heart. They don't point to their mind. They don't point to their head. See this, they'll because we inherently have this connection with the heart. And many people will say that, well, where does the soul reside in the body? And they'll say it's the heart. And you'll see a lot of even older pictures of Jesus where he's has the Sacred Heart, and then he has his two fingers up and that type of thing. So I think it's just even alluding to where the soul resides in the body is actually at the heart because we tend to feel the connection. We feel the healing needs to take place sometimes in the mind, but a lot of times, a lot of things, because our heart, it's so magnetic. Our feelings are so magnetic, they stick to us. And what usually affects us affects the heart. And, you'll talk to people sometimes and they'll say, well, tell me about a bad experience. And they'll tell you about a bad experience that took place 20 years ago and how it still hurts their heart. It hurt them so deeply. And so it would be there, sitting there in the heart to let go of and forgive. And that's why there's so much that takes place at the heart chakra we don't realize. But yes, I just thought that was interesting that that came out about duality is what your two eyes can see. So your left eye is attached to your left brain, your right eye is attached to your right, the left and the right eye go synchronize with those sides of the brain. And so therefore you have this sense of balance going on. And so that's being processed in the mind, but emotions is actually processed with the heart. We feel it. It's not something logical. And that's why things of the heart a lot of times don't make sense to the mind. And so move to the heart chakra and be with source. So I think when they're talking about be with source is it's this love frequency. Source is pure love frequency. And that's going to be experienced definitely in the heart instead of the head.
Yes.
The highest truth is an inward gaze. You have a right to be happy and stay with Source, your higher self. Let the soul take you up. All you have to do is stay with this inner presence. So I think if we go through our day and just feel Source with us, feel the beloved with us, then we don't feel as maybe less anxiety or worry and say, things have a way of, regardless of appearances, is working in your favor. And just kind of having that knowingness that you're not forgotten, that you are special, you are unique, and Source definitely intimately cares about what's going on in your life. And so I think there's a comfort in that. A lot of times we feel we're in this crazy system in on the earth plane, and a lot of these systems just don't make sense. I mean, some of these rules are just, I call them stupid rules. I'm like, why am I having to deal with this stupid rule? It doesn't even make any sense. Some bureaucracy said, well, we have to do it this way, we have to do it that way. And um, I can give you a silly example. When I moved to Arizona, of course, I had to get a driver's license and change the tags on my car and this and that. And of course, they ask you to register to vote when you're there at DMV. So okay, I did. And so it was interesting. Then I get this letter, of course, the day before I'm leaving for 3 weeks, so I can't deal with it. And the deadline is like 2 weeks. So I'm thinking, why do they put a deadline for 2 weeks? Why does there have to be a deadline at all? So apparently, I guess one department said that my registration didn't go through for voting or something, and that there was a change of address, so I had to go to the post office and find out, did somebody put in a change of address for me, which they said no. Of course, they'd have to show their license in order to do that, to show that they verified lived at your address. And then I showed him the letter from this, I guess, voters registration department. She says, they don't know what they're talking about. So, I mean, I think sometimes you get into these bureaucracies, but to me, I was kind of like, why do I only have 2 weeks? I'm gone for 3 weeks. So how am I going to handle this?
Right, right.
So yeah, it's interesting how we have all these silly rules that we have to abide by that somebody else creates, and they don't always make it easy a lot of
Well,
times.
you also wonder the people that gather around the table, what the hell are they smoking when they make up these rules? Because they truly are a hodgepodge of nonsense, to the logical mind, which is why more and more people are standing up now to make change, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
being more present, and listening to that inner voice, and more and more are going to continue to wake up to realize, wow, the way this earth school is being run isn't working because we're interfering with the soul's desire. So
Hmm.
I think what we want to do is change this around so it has more meaningful reasons why we need to do something or not do it at all. It doesn't need to be a rule anymore. So who knows? Who knows? I just think we're in a lot of we're in the time of massive changes.
Yes, and one of them is compassion. We have a lot of laws and rules that have zero compassion for humanity. I mean, it was like just that letter again. It was like, well, in 2 weeks, if you don't come, we're just throwing out your voter's registration out into the. So now, I haven't had a chance to get over there since I've gotten back from being gone for 3 weeks because, I have a lot to do like a lot of people, and I'm thinking, why 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Why do I have a deadline and then you're going to cast my paperwork aside or my registration aside? I mean, to me, it was like zero compassion for, there wasn't like, is there something we could do to help you with this process of,
Mm-hmm.
nothing like that. And so I think our society's gotten very harsh and non-compassionate. I think we're going to hopefully see a lot more compassion coming into helping humanity get through what they need to do while they're here on the earth.
Yeah. Yeah. Good
Yes.
point. Good point.
And here we are. The next one starts out with do not lose hope, for source is always with you and is your higher self. Go inward and converse with your soul. We're just not
Mm.
used to going inward. It just seems odd. It's very awkward. We're so used to this outer stimuli that it's really hard for us to go in and not have so much stimuli in our life. And so in the beginning, our mind thinks it's quite boring. But after a while, it just loves the lullaby, that peace that comes, that quiet time, that connection. And so it's just a bit of an adjustment in the beginning. But after a while, you just get to where you just love your quiet time.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Me and my rocking chair. See, it's right here.
See, you're getting exercise even when you're
I
being
am. I
spiritual
am.
time.
That's right.
See the life force in all things, look deeper in all of life, and have the awareness of source disguised within. So I think we briefly touched on that again about, all of creation is basically source manifesting in different forms. Love the divine more than anything else. Keep your connection and stay focused on the inner divine, the divine essence. Release desires, except only wanting to be with Source. Turning your face away from the world means you have surrendered your ego. Do not get lost in the world. Stay with Source. So this kind of reminds me of, how we kind of get lost in the world. We have a good time at the circus and the fair, and then in the beginning it's kind of fun and all the flashing lights and the crazy rides and but then after a while, you're like, okay, I have this horrible stomach ache from all the cotton candy. I'm dizzy and sick from all the rides. The lights, all these bright blinking lights are bothering my head. It's getting me a headache. And so sometimes, in the beginning, the circus and the fair is quite fun. After a while, you get to where you get tired of it. And then you feel you're lost in the fair. And then Source comes along and says, here, let me take your hands and help you while you are in this existence of what a lot of times may appear like some crazy fair. And
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of comfort in knowing that Source is holding our hand as we go through each day. And because the mind gets nervous, it has anxiety, it sees a lot that has to get done, that it's responsible to handle. And but I think there is quite a comfort in, that Source is saying to us, here, let me hold your hand. And then the world and the circus and the fair doesn't seem so scary.
Mm. I like that.
Hmm. The
All right.
promise
Well,
of,
let's do one or two more.
okay, the promise of immortality is the birthright of the soul. So the soul's a divine being. It always continues on even after this life. And there's schools on the other side of the veil as well to to provide and get us ready for whether it might be another physical incarnation or doing work on the other side with helping souls on the other side of the veil as well. Be the master soul, be the love. Source is watching inwardly. The omnipresence and all pervading power are living within all that is seen and unseen. I don't know
Mm.
why I just jumped to like intelligence. of different levels, seen and unseen. So you were talking about the inchworm or the green caterpillar that sensed the camera and all this technology and senses. So we all have this intelligence all around us, and it definitely, we just seem to think that, I don't know why, that humans have the highest intelligence, but sometimes I think some of these animals are very intelligent and sense a lot more than we do on a not just sensory level, but on a telepathic and spiritual level as well. So yeah, I thought that that was, we don't a lot of times hear about people becoming a master soul or working on mastership. And so I think that's a step up that, hopefully people are being exposed to that understanding that in this lifetime, you can be a master soul. It is available and you can attain it. Sure, there's a lot of work involved, but with anything worthwhile, there is. And so, like we had said on a previous episode, that anything that you've worked towards that's in spirit, you get to take that with you, that you can cross the veil with. Now, as we know, not physical objects, but in our spiritual work, that can transfer across the veil. So you don't lose that. And it's obviously a good investment to put our time into what is of lasting value in a fleeting, temporary, illusionary world we find ourselves in.
Yes, and I think right now with the month of December, there's a lot of people feeling what's a coming, holiday wise is a little overwhelming, along with other people feeling there's going to be energetic combustion going to go on and all kinds of things. So I think with many people riding a wave that they're unfamiliar, if they're using a surfboard or if they're trying to ride a bike over they're just all in outer confusion within themselves. So to remember that everything in the omniverse is you, and you are everything in the omniverse, and be in oneness with that, call upon source, and get a book like this, which is so easy to read because there's no chapters in it. So
Yeah.
you could just go pick something and go,
So,
how would I interpret that? Right? How would I interpret, some of these? And how does that make me feel right now? Or what, so they're not like a 2-page lesson or anything like that. They're just insightful contemplation, that could spark things. It certainly has for me since I've been reading it and then also doing our show on it. Every time you read something, a memory comes up about something that has to do with the lesson, or something that I can either pat myself on the back for because wow, I was listening, or I was successful, or oh, let me take that inward and mull that around a little bit, contemplate on it, and see what recycles from that, right?
mhm.
What comes, what residue does that have, and then bring it into your life and into your heart, and make changes within thyself as you're walking this extraordinary path called life that is only hectic because you've chosen it to be, because you have followed programs of people saying you need to do A, B, and C, and then in order to get to D, and then you better add E, F, G, and all that stuff. And before you throw your hands up and have some kind of dis-ease going on in your life, pump the brakes, take a look at everything that you've accumulated. How is that really helping you to be a better soul? How is that really helping you to be a better person in the moment? How does that help you feel the God self of you interacting with the God self of all things? So, any
Mhm.
comments on that, Dr.
Yeah,
Nancy?
you brought up a lot there.
Oh, yeah.
One of them was just, part of the spiritual journey is slowing down. We take a look at your calendar. Is there something you can cut out? Is it like senseless running around? It's not really doing that much for you. We find ourselves, well, there's always something maybe we could trim out of our schedule to have things calm, a little more time for ourselves and our spiritual journey. And then in the beginning, you'd mentioned about how as you're reading these entries, how it sparks memories or certain things. And it may, that's why a lot of people like to read this, excuse me, in the morning, because then they have this running in the background in their subconscious mind and they're sorting this through and it's really, permeating. But also it's helping them go, oh, that's what that was all about that happened 5 years ago. And it kind of spirit utilizes this to go back and maybe use it as a teaching tool. Oh, maybe that's what was going on between these two coworkers at work, and I didn't quite get it. That, I don't know why they weren't getting along. And then, there's just something and for whatever the situation is, that a lot of times that'll bring up something that as a tool and as a resource that people spirit can use also to help people on their spiritual journey. Or so they'll say, oh, I thought about this several years ago and I always wondered what the answer was to this, and now I got it in this entry. So there's some confirmations as well, and insights, and just all kinds of things that really inspire people. Some of them will zap you right between the eyes. You're like, oh my gosh, this one is quite something, and it's so I took 20 years of my spiritual notes and I compiled them into the form of entries. And I just thought that this way the world would have access to a lot of the wisdoms that I had gained over the years from many different master soul teachers that I've had, and many of them have left the planet. They did their assignment and then they left. They did their work, and but they always leave these impressions onto their students, and then their students is to step up and share those wisdoms to the next generation, and then the next generation. That's why we always have spiritual master soul teachers here on the planet to kind of help all these souls as they're coming up through the ranks and the wisdoms, and working on them becoming master souls themselves. And what is really mastery? Well, mastership just on this level is head, heart, and hand. It's your thoughts, mastering your thoughts, and heart is mastering your emotions, and hand is your actions. And so just those three, like a lot of times we'll know what's right in our mind, but do our actions and our heart match up to? So all three, mastery on all three levels. And it's not something that happen over day, in one day, because, it takes a process of really getting these three synchronized. And
Mm-hmm.
uh, so yeah, I've really I've gotten a lot of feedback on this book. A lot of people are like, wow, this is an amazing book, because I just pick it up and flip to any page, and I just put my finger on an entry, and wow, it's exactly what I needed at that moment. It's
Mm-hmm.
a tool spirit was able to to get to me through this entry. That maybe somehow spirit was trying to get my attention in this particular topic, and here it is in the book. So, and it's so random. I mean, everyone just can flip to any page, so it's obviously it's it's pure spirit. It's so interesting how so many people have said, "Oh my God, spirit knew exactly that's what I needed that morning or right before I went to bed. I had a rough day and I needed to." I said, "Well, give yourself 10 minutes, 15 minutes with spirit and pick up the book Ascendance, and then you can have this time with
Mm-hmm.
spirit." And so, yeah, I've really enjoyed the feedback I've received on this book. So that's why I was really excited about going through a lot of the entries on the podcast and just talking about what came up for you, or what are the deeper meanings within each entry.
Well, I really appreciate you putting in a book form and audio form so everyone else can partake of the things that Spirit has shared with you. It's very nice. And I know it took a lot, it's labors of love, a lot of labor of love, time consuming, because it's your time, your talent, and your treasury you're all putting into these books. And we appreciate you sharing them. And I can't wait to have you on again and again and again and keep sharing more. But listen, you guys, the only way you're going to hear, keep it spiritually simple, and guests like Dr. Nancy is hit that like, subscribe, and share button. Okay, we appreciate your support and you joining us on this platform. We'd like to bring this platform to others so that algorithm just keeps spitting it out into someone's screen and they get to, oh, look what popped up. They get to hear it when they need to hear it. So anyway, Dr. Nancy, you have a wonderful afternoon.
You as
And
well.
I look
You.
forward to seeing you on the next Keep It Spiritually
Absolutely.
Simple. Bye.
Everyone.